Hello, welcome to a Flosstube extra. My name is Catherine. I'm a Flosstuber that lives in New Zealand. My pronouns are she, her, and I've just come back from an eventful holiday in Peru. I'm quite tanned and I'm recording in my bedroom without the Flosstube paraphernalia. So this is what it's going to look like. I had a coffee with Victoria yesterday and I said to her, I think I'll do a Flosstube on my own. Well, it's really not a Flosstube because it's not about making, but it's about other things that people have made. So if you're here thinking it's going to be about cross stitch and knitting and all the crafts that we do, this isn't the right one to watch. So go back to the main channel and have a look and watch one of the other ones. I'll mark this one extra somehow. Anyway, as always, we went on holiday to Peru, my hubby and my girls, and as always I unashamedly build up my collection of folk art and crafts and textiles and yarn. So I know that some Flosstubers are also keen collectors and keen admirers of crafts, so I thought I would show you what I bought. If you don't like spendy shoppy, don't watch this. I bought a lot, especially because if you follow my Instagram, you'll know that after being in Peru for about 7 days, we decided that it wasn't a good idea to stay, so we left and we went to Chile instead. It must have been more than 7 days, maybe 10 days. Yes, Peru's going through a difficult time. It's really hard to understand what's going on, but what is true is that there's a lot of demonstrations, and unfortunately human life is not being respected, and the police are shooting at demonstrators, and everybody has a right to demonstrate, and on the whole the demonstrators are peaceful. Most of these demonstrations are built up by indigenous and people from lower socioeconomic groups. It's a complicated story. Peru is a very classist and racist society, as are most countries that have been colonized. So there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen in Peru. So it was very difficult. We went there to rest and sort of reconnect with Peru because we hadn't been over the COVID years. Because COVID's rampant. But anyway, we went. One of my daughters is not having the easiest of years with her mental health. So we really wanted to focus on resting at the beginning of the holiday, and the exciting bit was going to come at the end. So we did get the first 5 days were very restful for her, but she was very anxious with what was going on. You know, we were very safe. We were in a very privileged part of Lima when we stay in Lima. It's very safe. There is people with money live in that part of Lima, and so there's a very active effort that is made to keep it safe, and generally no pickpockets, no petty crime, no significant crime. So we were safe, but whenever it got to the point where in Lima, wherever we went, we tried to get to like some of the more interesting cultural areas. Like they wanted to go to the main square. In the main square, if you haven't been to Peru, it's a very warm culture. So even when they do the change of guard in the main square, the band, the army band, I don't know what it's called, the army band or whatever, they sing, they play sort of fun songs as well as like the national anthem. So last time we went, they were singing that Despacito. It's not singing, it was playing in the orchestra. So anyway, my girls thought it was great, and they wanted to see the buildings and all that sort of thing. It's very beautiful. It's quite an impressive main square. So we went, but when we arrived, it was just all around it was police in riot gear, and that's very difficult to feel comfortable around. So we kind of did a little, we didn't stop there, we went to the square following on from that, and we were able to go to a beautiful museum that Martin had seen last time and I hadn't, because I'd been in bed. I spend a lot of time in bed when I'm on holiday. So we did do some lovely things. I do want to tell you that, you know, if you're interested in going to Peru, Peru is such a beautiful, warm country. I love Peru, of course, I'm from Peru, but it really is beautiful, and we have such an amazing amount of things to offer people. Our food is amazing. Our museums are just incredible now. They've, you know, once upon a time they weren't very good, but now they're very good. I did fulfill a lifetime dream of going to a museum called Amano Museum, which is a collection gathered by a Peruvian Japanese man called Mr. Amano. It was just amazing. I was so happy, and I always try and have a guided tour when I go to museums, and it was just incredible. I did buy a book when I was there, so we did do that. It was really funny because what we decided to, so the other thing that happened as well, this is going to be bitty, isn't it? The other thing that happened as well was that it just didn't feel right to be having a jolly in a country that's suffering so much. Like, yay, let's have a selfie here. And, you know, by the time I had left Peru, 27 people had been killed by the police. So, yeah, it just didn't feel good. Christina was, sorry, oops, I shouldn't say her name. My youngest was very concerned. So, anyway, we made a decision. We went to Chile. I was quite heartbroken to leave, but I had to pretend that was okay because I didn't want to upset my girls. But I was heartbroken. These trips to Peru are a huge financial commitment for us, and really important for me to kind of keep my children's culture alive. So I was heartbroken to go to Chile. And I think with hindsight, I think we were all quite stressed because what we did is, like, my daughter said, oh, shall I book a hotel? And I said, yep, you choose it, that'll book it. And we just went and we spent 11 days in Santiago. Now, Santiago is a massive city. Chile is not like Peru. It prides itself in how far ahead it is technologically and stuff, that, you know, I felt like I was in just any nondescript city full of high-rises, and it's just, you know, beautiful though it was, and they have done a nice job with their parks and everything. I would never choose to do that. I should have gone south. We should have gone south, and we talked about it, but I just felt like it was enough of a mission to change the flights and get out. And of course, a whole host of cancellations that we have to sort out still. That it was just kind of beyond us to do anything else. And by the time we had sort of relaxed into it, we were 3 days in Santiago, and then I said to Javi, oh, we really should be down south, which is like really beautiful part of Chile, and I have a good friend further south. And anyway, it didn't work out. As happens, my eldest daughter loved Santiago. She thought she'd arrived. She loves Peru. But Santiago was for her was a little bit like her dream of moving to Auckland. So Auckland is New Zealand's biggest city. It's high rises, and, you know, it's a business centre and all shiny. She just loved it. So anyway, I'm not saying Santiago wasn't attractive. I'm saying it's for different people. It just wasn't for me. But, you know, we were safe, and it felt like a good move for the family. Anyway, so if you're here, as I remember, I'll try and remember bits and bobs, but I just want to show you the things I bought in Peru so that you can see the range of handcrafts that you can get there. If you've watched the program, you'll know that I have an extensive collection, and I love adding to it. So we'll start with, I've laid it out. I've got Peru on this side, and I've got Chile on this side. So I'll just start randomly. So what happened is that we decided to leave, say, tomorrow, and so today, Christina and I, my youngest and I, spent the whole day shopping. In the morning, then hotel, lunch, break, and then in the afternoon as well, because there were things I really wanted to get. So one of the things that I got were these two boards. They're called tablas de Sadua. So Sadua is a town or a village, I don't know how big it is. And it was discovered that the tradition in this town was that when a couple decided to marry, I don't know if they follow the traditional, the modern Catholic rituals, but when they decided to form a home together, in any case, their friends and family, or maybe the whole village, would get together and they would decorate these boards to put at the front of the house. And I think it's like eaves, or it might be downwards, I'm not quite sure, but they're big, and they would have scenes. They would decorate scenes of, you know, their family life and things that they did as people. And of course, once Peruvians are good business people, you know, that if they find out a business opportunity, they'll exploit it. So they've now started doing smaller things. So these are made out of wood, which I like. So it's actually a tree branch. And so I really like that it's not quite straight. And you can really see it here. It really curves here. And it goes in here a little bit. Anyway, the reason I chose these is because they depict collecting fruits for dyeing fabric. And this one, they're spinning. I hope you can see it. So this one's spinning, this one's collecting fruits for dyeing. And the other lovely thing as well is that it tells you the name of the action in Quechua, which is one of the indigenous languages of Peru. So, Molle Payari, I think, no, Molle Payai, I think I'm pronouncing that right. So Molle is the plant, and Pushkai, which is spinning. And also I learned that Quechua is not just one language, it's a group of languages, so you might have variations in pronunciations, because I've seen pushka with an SH, not a CH, so that could be a variation. It might be harder when they pronounce it pushka as opposed to pushka. And this one has weaving, which is called auri. No, I can't even say Awaqu. And then they're doing dyeing, and that's tiñei. And all of these two things were made by the Julián Ramos and Familia. So lovely. So these are made in the sort of central highlands of Peru, I believe, in, correct me if I'm wrong, Junín. I think the department is called Junín, and the town is called Sadua, I believe. So anyway, these will go into my studio. I'm very happy about those. And I did also buy 2 little ones, because it seemed churlish not to. So he's serenading her, and she's spinning. And it says Munanakui. And this one, she's weaving. And at the top here it says Yitya Awai. So Yitya is what she's weaving. So I'll show you 2 yityas that I bought when I was in Peru. At least, one of the things that also makes me really happy is, well, at least in this gallery, I bought these 2 things from a gallery. There's a lovely gallery that I always try and go to, but every time I go, he moves this gallery to a different place, and I always lose touch. He doesn't really respond to my emails. Maybe he's better now. But then when I emailed him, it was a pandemic, so maybe it was just too much. I just found him by accident. So I really like that. You can buy a lot of cheap, fun things in Peru that are not very high quality artisan made things, but he only stocks artisan made very high quality things in his gallery, including this retablo. This is the latest addition to my collection, and this is actually made of wood. This is not a matchbox, which is an interesting variation. He's used the traditional design of these flowers here. You can see them, some more detail on the sides. And this one is a flower scene. I love flowers, so this was lovely. Very beautiful. I'm really happy. I'm really happy to have added a miniature one into my collection. I have to buy miniatures because my house is small, but very beautiful. And it does have a signature. The ones that are artisans and don't do production but are creating artworks do sign their work, which I can't read, but they are signed. So that's lovely. What else did I buy? I bought, from that same gallery, I bought this little ceramic pot. It's a little dish. The town it comes from is called Quinoa, and they specialize in these ceramics, and they're, would you call them monochrome? When it's, mono means one, but I've seen them described as monochrome because it's like, anyway. Poly sounds like many colors, so it's not polychromatic, it's monochromatic. Anyway, white and brown, very beautiful. But I was just so enamored of these birds, so quirky. I'd not seen them before. It's lovely when I go back and I see innovations and new designs that come through. So that was really lovely. And I also, so this is from a town called Quinoa in Junín as well. We actually have been to that town, and I have shown you some little bowls that I have with little hands on the ends as well. This I didn't buy from the gallery, I bought from a different place. But again, I think it's quite beautiful. Is this two-headed alpaca? Llama? I'm not sure. But very beautiful. You can use it as a candle holder. Very beautiful. I suppose one of the reasons I'm doing this Flosstube showing you my acquisitions is because Martin's not that interested. My life's hard. So what else? Again, from Ayacucho, I have a collection of these. These are women dancers, musicians from one of the festivities, so they have a mask, but they all have a musical instrument, and I came across another one in the gallery. So I've got 4 of these, but none playing the accordion, so I had to add her to my collection. Beautifully made. Very happy to have her. It's very hard when you go to this gallery because you want to take it all. But I don't have to have it all, apparently. I keep telling myself, you know, I can be happy with what I have. So I got that. Then, in the same gallery, I added to my collection of Shipibo Conibo textiles. And I did post on Instagram. I went to the Museum of Modern Art. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the Museum of Modern Art in Barranco in Lima. And I don't have I don't have one in this technique. So what I was going to say is that in that museum they had a big exhibition of Shipibo Conibo art and artists, which I'd never seen, apart from in a small museum. Gosh, I'm not even sure that's true. So I was born in the Amazon area, which is the region where Shipibo Conibo come from. But I don't think I've seen them in a museum. But anyway, it was so lovely to see them recognized as artists. And to recognize the names and some of the words I remember from my childhood. So that was really lovely. I do love their textiles. But I'd never seen, well, I don't have one of these examples in my collection. And what's unique about this one is that it's applique. So the brown, so you've got the green that you can see, 2 greens, and then this brown, the dark brown is the background, but this line is appliqued. And I know stitching. This is beautiful stitching. So I'm super happy. To be honest, I have no idea how and where I'm going to display it. I have no room for these textiles now, I've realized. But my studio has arrived, so I will do some jiggery pokery and find ways to display my things. Anyway, it makes me very happy to have it. I can tell you that they don't weave this fabric anymore. They used to spin and weave cotton by hand, and they may well do for their own homes, for their own special textiles, but certainly for selling, they buy their fabric, but then they do dye it using iron mud. So the way I believe that's done is that they know certain areas that have iron-rich deposits, so they dig a hole and they bury the cloth in it for however long they know is required, and then you get this very dark brown, which is a lot lighter on this side. They use a variety of stitches, and these are actually skirts. They're wraparound skirts. They don't really fit me, which is very sad. Just beautiful, beautiful craftsmanship. Not cheap to purchase, which I think is as it should be. I am so pleased that they are now getting what they're worth for their work. That's really wonderful. It is kind of on the verge of me not being able to afford it, which is to say, I just allow myself to buy them. They are very expensive, especially for an item that's just decorative. I'm not going to use this, but it feeds my soul, and it's great to support indigenous makers as well. So I'm very happy to have this. Where am I going to put these things? Anyway, I'll show you the two guillas that I bought. So I believe this is the correct term. I bought these two on our last day in Lima before we were leaving. I was very sad. So I missed out on my weaving workshop. That was a 2-day workshop that I was going to make with the Center for Textile Weaving in Cusco. So that was a shame. But I know what I'm looking for. So of all the places, I went to lots of galleries, lots of sort of, they call them galleries, but they're like little shopping malls for artisans. Well, they're actually traders mostly, not producers. They're traders selling stuff that other people make. There's a fly. I'm going to get out. And I have. Great. I'm so glad it's not as hot here as it was in Santiago. It was 32 days ago. So glad it's not anymore. So anyway, as Martin said, oh, it's very much like the one you already have. It is, but very beautiful. And it has this quite time-consuming border, which I need to find out a bit more about. I've got a few of their books in my collection, so I will get them out and I will actually try and do some research. I do follow their account on Instagram, so I will put it at the bottom of this so that you can see and maybe learn a little bit if you're interested in weaving. So some of the things I love about it, let's see if it shows on this side. Oh no, this is just so perfectly finished. You can't really see it. There's a little bit of a join here where the two sides are joined. So I believe this is two pieces joined together. This would be one piece and this would be the other piece. And it's joined together down the middle, but this one is very perfectly done. You can barely see. You can barely see. This is the line where they join between these two dark colors. You can barely see it. Very beautifully done. So anyway, this was one of them, and it was so lovely. So when I go to Peru, I have one friend left in Peru that I'm in touch with. Obviously I went to school there, and I went to university for a year, so I do know people, but you lose touch, don't you? I do have one friend, but I spend my time in Peru speaking to craft sellers and craft makers and taxi drivers and if I'm very lucky, an artisan producer. What was my point? Oh yes, so the other thing that was fun, which I don't know if people see this as fun or not, but I really enjoy sort of detecting the different accents in Peru, because there's been so much migration into the country because other countries are having difficulty. So there's a lot of Colombians and Venezuelans in Peru now. And it's just so wonderful to see them doing well, doing better than when they first arrived. It was very difficult at the beginning when there was this mass exodus from Venezuela. And I went to Peru not that long after, and people were really struggling. And there were still people struggling in the streets, so asking for money and help. But I saw lots of people with proper jobs, having managed to get a life, an ordered life going, you know, an income, a home. It was great. Anyway, the lady in this shop, I went to so many shops, and then she told me the price of this, and I was like, I thought, just go. It's not that I don't think it's worth it. It's just that, can I justify that I spend that money? So anyway, I went, did a loop, and then we came back and I did buy them, and we had a lovely chat. And she was from Venezuela, and we were talking. And then I was teaching her a little bit about this, because she had a few. She probably had about 12 of these, but only 2 had this beautiful, beautiful finished edge that I love. That is a lot more time consuming. Some had a crochet edge, which is more modern way of finishing, and definitely faster, and not as comfortable as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, we were just talking. I was explaining why I was drawn to these, and then we had a hug at the end. It was very lovely. She was a lovely person, and I love those connections that you can have when you're traveling. So anyway, this was lovely, and obviously I love these colors as well. I'm drawn to these. I love some of the blues that come out as well, but I didn't get to Cusco, so there was not a great variety. I'm not going to be sad about that. This one is beautiful as well. This one is older and damaged. You know I love a damaged textile, don't you? Especially because this one's super special, because it has been repaired. And it hasn't been repaired properly, in inverted commas, but it has been repaired beautifully. So, can you see, is this good enough video for you to see there's a detail here and a detail here and a detail here, and then suddenly you just get this running stitch. So it must have unraveled, and they've just fixed it with a running stitch, and you can see that it also got wider. So I love that. I love that. I love. Oh, an ambulance. That's never good. I love that. By the time the textiles get to me, they've had a life. Hopefully, it means that an indigenous family used this, loved it. It was useful to them. They enjoyed their beauty. And when they made a better one, they sold this one on, because they can make a better one themselves. So again, this is, I believe, 2. Let me see if I can guess where the join is. Sometimes the joins are too good. Oh, yeah, this is a join, and this is not as masterful a join. Can you see? It's kind of, it's got big stitches. Can you make out black stitches? Where is it? It's well hidden, but they're big stitches. Big black stitches that join all down the middle. Anyway, I think it's quite beautiful. It's got a little bit of turquoise, which is gorgeous, next to these oranges. See, Andean people, gosh, they have an eye for colour. Anyway, go to Peru. If you get a chance, go to Peru. Go to the beautiful parts where indigenous people are the largest population. They're just they're good people. Very talented, very clever. You can learn a lot. If you're a weaver, if you're a serious weaver, and you haven't gone to Peru yet, I would put it on your list. And if you're nervous about going to a country like Peru, go on an organized tour. Like I know, I think it's Abby's Yarns. There's a spindle book called Respect the Spindle, written by Abby Frankemont. She lives in a small town outside of Cusco, and she does tours, so you can do that. But you also definitely want to see the Centro for Textile Weaving in Cusco as well. And she now works, she does collaborations with them as well. So you don't have to go to Peru on your own and start to feel a little bit overwhelmed if you haven't traveled in a country where you don't speak the language. And certainly by the time you get to some of these villages, they will mostly speak Quechua, not Spanish. The younger generation will speak Spanish. They may not speak English though. So anyway, very beautiful. I was very happy to get these two, and I felt that at that point I could leave Peru. I'll show you my handbag. I got a new handbag. Every time I go to Peru, I get a handbag. So, isn't this gorgeous? Allow me to indulge because nobody cares here, really. Hand woven from the north of Peru, where there's a big tradition of doing these. I think the town might be Monsefu or Ferreñafe maybe, but it's the department called Lambayeque, which I believe is where these come from. Anyway, I couldn't resist the colors. It still smells of the sun. Gorgeous. So this will be my summer until it starts. Once it starts getting a bit bedraggled, because they will, because I give them a lot of love, they move into my craft room for storage because they're just too gorgeous to get rid of. So anyway, I was super happy to get these, and I also got these two little containers, hand woven again. I'm not sure what the material is. I wonder if it's all made with the leftover from the rice growing, but I'm not sure. Rice is grown in wet parts, so this is not a wet part of the country. So I don't know, maybe I'll do some fact finding. Isn't it gorgeous? So cute. I thought it might come in handy in my craft room. So anyway, I'm happy with those. I also got this pack of cards. The only downside for me is that they're in English. I wish they had done them in Spanish, but it's all textiles from ancient Peru. And I thought it might have some history, and it doesn't. You just get the card with an image, and you get, I think it's the region it comes from, or maybe the culture. Also, this is a mantle made in the style of Siwas. Don't know. Anyway, I'm not a card player, but we did play cards on Christmas Day, having a picnic at a park in Santiago, and I was torturing my girls, talking about the beautiful textiles. My girls do like card playing. I think most people do. I'm just a bit weird. Anyway, let me show you this. This is what I found out was some of the earliest forms of embroidery found in Peru, from the Paracas culture. Very exciting. So I discovered that at the Amano Museum. And they used porcupine needles, apparently. So that's exciting. Very beautiful work. So anyway, that was my pack of cards. I also got some yarn. I got some yarn for my daughter-in-law. I'm actually allergic to alpaca. And alpaca is perceived as better. I mean, I just think it's different. But I'm allergic. I can wear alpaca, but when I knit with alpaca, my face goes blotchy and my sinuses play up. I really shouldn't. So, but it seemed churlish to go to Peru and not buy alpaca. Well, not buy yarn, and it's just so hard to find non-alpaca yarn. They had 50-50, so sheep's wool and alpaca, and they had 100% alpaca. Anyway, this brand is called, doesn't even have a brand name really. Maybe it's alpaca's wool. I don't know. It says alpaca's wool, 100% alpaca, and this is all for export. Yeah, this is all for export. Made in Peru. Very beautiful. And for once, This is my daughter-in-law, who's an amazing knitter. I'd love to say that I taught her well, but I barely taught her, and she's, you know, off creating her own garments. This is more her color palette. I have given her things from my collection before, but it's not exactly her colors. But she got married in a top in this similar color and a skirt in that color, so she will love this. So it'd be nice to be able to give her a gift. It's not a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. I don't do those because I'm kind of rubbish. But then I felt sad that I wasn't enjoying the party, so I bought these two for myself, which are variegated. I figure I can get away with one ball at a time. See how I go. Same brand, but being variegated, it'll be fun to knit with them. So that's them. When I was in Cajamarca, which was where we started our holiday, I only came across one seller that was selling sheep's wool. So I bought a kilo. So they're in skeins, but they're not like skeined up nicely, like we would. Anyway, each skein is 250 grams. I bought 4. Yep, that's right, I bought 4. And with the idea that I would do dyeing, because I enjoy dyeing, and also this is a keepsake from Peru, so of course I was going to buy some. I did go back to see if I could buy some colored yarn. That was before I bought the alpaca for my daughter-in-law. But the woman was saying it's actually, this is within their pocket to buy undyed yarn. So it's processed, it's yarn from Cajamarca, processed in Cajamarca, and it's within their reach to buy this, but to buy it dyed, then the price is a lot higher. And I noticed that in Chile as well. I bought undyed, which is to say natural, and it was significantly cheaper. They call it raw. So that was interesting. So I bought some yarn there as well. Anyway, I'm excited to do this. I'm hoping to get my studio set up, and then I can do some dyeing. It'll all depend on work. If this is a crazy work year, we'll see how I go. But anyway, I was very happy to have some Peruvian yarn. And again, it was another visit to a little crafts booth, where I was able to have a lovely conversation with the seller, because I was also a knitter, and she would make these items to sell as she was sort of looking after her shop. She would be knitting, and she would make these very cabled garments to sell as well. Very beautiful. I'm not going to open it because I am still frightened. But this is my backstrap loom from my day in the Andes with that family that I posted on Instagram. That was such a wonderful experience. I've got a couple more videos to post, which I will on Instagram, or maybe I'll be able to put them at the back of this. I'm not sure. I need to recover from jet lag and have time to think, and then I'll try and unravel this and get it going again. But I feel very excited to have the completed thing, like the whole thing. I can weave now, and this is what's so wonderful about a backstrap loom. You don't have to have a big machine. This is it. I mean, I'm only making something this wide. I'm making a belt. If I was making a bigger thing, it would be this big. You can only make it as big as your arm span will allow you to freely move your shuttle to and fro. So they tend to be about this wide, sort of maybe 90 centimeters maximum. So that's that. We are coming to the end of what I shopped for, what I bought in Peru. This belongs to the other bit. My spindles. I now have 5 Peruvian spindles. And I probably will buy, there's one that makes a noise, that rattles. I probably will buy it from the Canadian maker again. But anyway, these 4 have their weights at the bottom. And as I said on Instagram, they whittle these themselves. So you can have beautiful, like as I was saying, if you go to Abby Frankemont's page, she also sells beautifully made for export spindles in exactly the same way as they have. But I believe indigenous makers, the Quechua speaking indigenous makers, who are generally speaking in the lower socioeconomic bracket, they wouldn't be buying export quality. They just make their own. And this is one of the styles that they make. So, as they said to me, there's loads of eucalyptus in the country now. So we just go and find a branch that looks kind of straight, and we whittle it down. You can see that it's tapered on both ends. Not hard. But this is authentic, so I'm not going to make my own because I buy them authentically. That makes it even more special. This is what the people that had me for the day sold me. I did buy it from them. You have to, that's a whole other conversation. I love it. This is one of the stones that is very commonly found. It's quite a soft stone so that they can carve the hole in it. And so they just do that. And she was saying that where her mother-in-law lives, it's they use a slightly different stone, which was very shiny. I really wanted one. So super glad to have these. So they sold me two, but they only had one weight. I think it was called mortero, but they only had one weight. And she said when you finish with one, you move it to the other. And what I found really interesting is that they only use the weight until you have a decent cob. Once the cob is of a size, they just take this off. You don't need it because the stick's weighted enough. So that was interesting. And then I went to the market. I've actually forgotten my distaff, which is annoying. I'll holler, see if Martin gets it. Darling, can you get me my distaff? I forgot. I don't want to stop my video.
Yeah.
Thank you, darling. It's long suffering. So what made these really special is I bought them in the market, just in the central market of the town. I didn't think I would find them. Felicita told me that I wouldn't be able to. She was like, no, people just make beads, you don't buy them. Anyway, I went asking, and I bought a distaff, and I bought 3 of these. They were super cheap. Gosh, maybe 2 soles. I mean, less than $1 each. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, because the distaff was 6 soles. Or maybe these were 6 soles and the distaff was 10. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was pocket money. It was no contest. Of course I was going to buy them. I was going to clean out her store. She only had 3 and I bought 3. This book shaped. How could I not? I'm a trained librarian. Of course it was going to be in my bag. So cute. And then a circular one. And then another book one. It's bloody brilliant. Amazing people. Love it. They must have took, that's a lot of the tourists are readers. Anyway, I'm very happy with these. Oh, thank you, darling. He just had the audacity to laugh at me. Okay, so now we're going to do an unboxing. This is hilarious. This is New Zealand biosecurity. I had to declare this. When I come into New Zealand's very, very careful about what comes into the country because we're in the very lucky position of being an island that was isolated for a long time, so we don't want to have more introduced pests than we have had since the colonial times. So I always declare, and then they can make their mind up. And if they want to take it off me, they take it off me. Anyway, this is my distaff. As Martin and my girls say, it's only a stick. But what a beautiful stick, and authentic. So I posted a video on Instagram of a lady. She was selling her wares in the street. She was just sat there. Her hubby was with her. And she was spinning as she sold. I didn't want to buy any of her wares So I said to her, you know, if I pay you, can I video you and interview you? And we had the best time. She was so lovely. She showed me how to use it. I said to her, I've been shown it, I've gone to the market, I've got my own, I don't quite know how to use it, can you show me? And she had her own slightly different method from what I'd seen online. She was super lovely, but I don't know what I did to the video. I only captured about 30 seconds, but we were talking for about 5 minutes and we had a good laugh. And that's what I mean about being able to connect with people, makers as well. That was lovely. And the other thing that I love about the spinners in Peru is that they're not worrying about ratios, and they're just not overthinking it. It's just instinctive. They know they produce beautiful yarn and they just do it. They're not getting their thing out and measuring and making sure it's right and fiddling about too much with things. They just get on with it. Anyway, this stick she tucks into her belt, and so by the time it's tucked in, it's only about this high, and then she can move. She can walk if she wants to, but she was sitting down, and then she has her what would it be, like the fleece, which is, would we call it rubbing? So what they do is what they use is not processed. So they shear the sheep, then they manually wash it, and then they fluff it up a little bit and straighten it out a little bit by hand. And that's what they use. So it's not roving, it's not processed really. So anyway, it was great. I will be using this. It'll also be a prop in my studio. Totally worth it. Of course, it had to be an oversized package. Fun times. So yeah, super delight. I mean, as a maker, as a spinner, as a potential weaver, as a knitter, as a dyer, it was just the best thing. And the other thing as well, when I was with Felicita and her family, we talked a lot about dyeing. And one of the things that they do is they use ash. I've never used ash, but I do have a wood fire. So I need to find out a little bit more about it, because the family weren't teachers, so we were just talking really. And when you know something so well and you're not a teacher, you just take things for granted. So I would ask them questions and we'd go, no, you just do this. And what colour do you get? Well, you get something like this or something like that. So it wasn't like really clear, detailed stuff. So I need to look a little bit into it, but I'm excited to try ash, see what happens. Okay, so what else? Looking around, I think I'm on to books now. Oh, I've got a little bit of jewellery. I don't really buy jewellery in my life in New Zealand. God, I've got the most dreadful bags under my eyes. Anyway, but I want to show you this jewellery because it really is beautiful, and I'm trying to showcase what Peru produces so that you're all tempted to go. And I'm sure that in the US there are shops that sell Peruvian handcrafts, so you can try that. Anyway. And I don't know if this is common of all the countries in Peru, but certainly Peruvians are like, oh, Peruvian silver. Like, it's Peruvian silver, it's more special. I don't even know if it is Peruvian silver, but, you know, we think it's more special. Anyway, I have shown you in the past the gourds, the decorated gourds that I have. Well, an innovation that happened when I was away is that they now make them into jewellery. So this is one of the gourds. Can you see the 3 flowers at the top? It's got 3 flowers, and they're very famous flowers called cantuta, and underneath it's got 2 birds. Is it 2 birds or 1 bird? Can I even see? Oh goodness. Ha! It's got two birds and some flowers underneath. Very beautiful. When I saw it, I was like, okay, Martin, this is my Christmas present. And of course then proceeded to wear it. We're terrible about Christmas presents and things like that. So I was super delighted. And we got one for my daughter as well, which was lovely. But this one, oh my goodness. I had to buy 2, because Peru and all that. This is a lady with a llama, and she's spinning. Oh my giddy aunt, is that not just the most beautiful thing? She's spinning with her spindle as she walks. She's wearing her traditional dress I don't think the quality of the picture is that great. Very beautiful, and it's kind of they do the carving, but they've also now developed like dyeing, so they dye the gourd as well. So this has been dyed in a kind of purpley maroony. I think it's more purple. It's very gorgeous. Oh, I hope you can see it. Where is her spindle? Right there is her spindle. Can you see that little shape? That's her spindle. She's spinning. It was made for me. And of course it's encased in silver. And then I wanted to show you this ring. So gosh, 4 years ago, I think. No, it would have been 6 years ago. I went to the north of Peru. There is a town near Piura, which is one of the departments. I'll show on my finger. Which is one of the departments, and they specialize in filigree. When I went, you pretty much had to go to that town to find this filigree, unless you went to very, very expensive jewelry stores in Lima, very, very expensive ones. Also on the airport, there are some very expensive jewelry stores in the international airport. But now they had filigree everywhere, so Christine and I bought a matching filigree ring in a completely different part of the country, in Cajamarca. It's very delicate and beautiful. Very happy about that. So, oh, I forgot to show you. I've got the books and some paintings. So because we knew we were leaving Peru, and I was pretty devoted, Christina wanted to get a painting. Christina's a mini-me. I love it. She has her own collection of books. She has her own collection of crafts now. It's just wonderful. I mean, she's her own person. She's different to me, but at the same time, we kind of speak the same language. So I bought these 3 little paintings, totally influenced by her. Generally, I don't really buy these. They kind of churn them out. They're like, they probably do 20 an hour. But when I was in school, Peru had 3 distinct regions. Now they're called more like, I think we had the coast, we had the highlands, and we had the jungle. But I think now they have more regions. They call them more things, but I'm not sure because I'm not in school. But anyway, so you've got the jungle, you've got the highlands, and you've got the coast. So this is a sort of the sort of building that's disappearing from Lima. They get bought, they get pulled down, apartment buildings go up. High-rise apartment buildings. Not high-rise, they're kind of posh in these parts of town, but anyway. Very beautiful. And I'm hoping to learn oil painting this year. And this was the style of painting that I want to do. It's kind of impasto, so it's gloopy and globby. So I kind of wanted to look at it in detail as well. Anyway, I really like them. This one's a little bit, I mean, this is not my version of where I grew up, but I know what they're doing. I mean, there are certainly places like that in Peru. It just wasn't my experience. Anyway, I do love them. Martin was quite puzzled when I got home with these, but I do love them. Now on to the books. So I go to museums and I buy books. That's one of the things that I do. That's okay, right? At Amano Museum, which you can buy their book by DMing them on their Instagram account, and they will post. I'm not sure if they will post international, but they will post. But anyway, I bought this book, which is called La Trama Ancestral, which is ancestral weft, which is their collection of textiles, and they really have some beautiful ones. Let's look at a couple of pages. Look, some needles for embroidery, porcupine. Oh, and this was a ceramic sewing box. Isn't that cute? I took some photos of this. Very cute. I find it amazing that these things have survived, especially because of the sacking of the burial sites and stuff. Some remnants of a textile. I was struck in the museum by the realization that I really should have done anthropology. And maybe I could have specialized in Peruvian textiles. I don't know. Who knows? I also had a moment where I wanted to do a master's in textile conservation. But it would mean moving to Glasgow for 2 years, and no, it's not happening. And also it would have cost me $30,000 per year, and it's a 2-year degree. I already have too many postgrads. I don't need another one. But for a minute there. Anyway, really great book. I'm very excited to read all about it. I dip in and out of these books. I very seldom read them all in one go. Kind of is a bit boring if I do that. But I'm also really interested to kind of relearn some of the history that, of course, I've forgotten, because I last did history when I was 16. Look at that. Beautiful threads. But they had a special offer on at the time, that if you bought this book, which was not cheap, as museum books tend not to be, and it is a private museum, and it's just as good as any other museum as far as conservation and maintenance and lighting and all that sort of thing. So yay, supporting the museum. But they gave you these 2 books in the deal. So if you're in Peru and you go to these galleries that sell handcrafts, you'll see these little dollies everywhere. And these are called, I think they're Chancay dolls. I was very tempted to buy some, but it just felt so contrived, because they make them now, but they make them to look old, and it kind of felt contrived, so I didn't buy them. But I'm very excited to find out about them. It's only a little booklet, 26 pages. Pre-Columbian dolls in the Amano Museum. Oh, it looks like it's bilingual. That's good. Yeah, it's bilingual. Great. I like to have things in Spanish. And then you get this other book. Oh, they gave me some postcards as well. And this has got the designs. So it's called Diseños Precolombinos del Perú. So pre-Columbian designs from Peru. So it's this sort of thing, which actually might be fun to incorporate into some of my freestyle embroideries that I like to do. So pretty cool. The other thing that struck me is in the past I've always whinged that I didn't get proper art tuition in school. We only had to draw huacos. The huacos are the pre-Columbian ceramic vessels. They're called huacos. That's a generic term. And we would just get a picture of one and we had to copy it. Well, that was not art to me. But now I can't think of anything nicer. I just think they're beautiful. So funny. Anyway, it's coming on to an hour. Chile can have 10 minutes. I also got this other book, Textiles of Ancient Peru. I got this at a different museum, which I can't remember which one it was. I went to quite a few museums. Look, pre-Columbian embroidery. So I found out that embroidery in Peru was from about, gosh, did they say 800 BC? 800 BC. Very exciting. Anyway, lots of learning to do. Oh, this is in the Chile section. Okay. Oh, and I also got a bag. I knew I had to buy a bag to be able to carry some of these purchases. So instead of buying just a generic, like, Samsonite suitcase, I bought this. These things you find everywhere in Peru. So they're probably woven on a pedal loom, which is faster. And then we cut them out and make it into bags and backpacks and whatnot. So Very cool. Now I have a bag when I go away for weekends with friends or with Martin. So I'm happy with that. Okay, Chile. I just dropped something. Just excuse me. That was a terrible shot. I'm sorry. Oops. Okay. I should say that I also bought 20 DMC threads, white, in Peru. So I will do some dyeing this summer. Very excited about this. Oh, this DMC, I'm saying DMC, but they're not. They're Molino Tren. They're a Peruvian brand. I don't know if they're an international brand, but these are Peruvian. If it's DMC, you know, I don't know if DMC has more factories than one, but I think they do. If they are an international brand, these are made in a factory in Peru, so that's exciting. So I'm hoping I got a bit frightened because I thought the artist that was going to do this commission for me, I thought, she posted saying that all her commission spaces were filled, and I thought, oh gosh, I hope she did keep mine. But my idea is that with these Peruvian threads, I will dye them in New Zealand, and it will be this new, English Indian artist that will embroider a panel for me. And because she also has a history of immigration, I thought that was very fitting. I'm very excited about them. So that's that. Okay, things I bought in Chile. So we went to, this will all be bitty as well. I really wanted to get out of Santiago. So one day we went to a small town village called Pomaire, which is about an hour away. And they specialize in ceramics. Oh, I did buy, oh, it's here. So I bought this little frying pan. Which can go on my wood fire, so that's cool. But I also bought a little spoon because of course I love spoons. I kind of collect spoons, but I can't have many because little house, I have some spoons, so I just picked one. And they also have this little sort of marketing thing about a three-legged pig. So I bought a little three-legged pig, which is also a little necklace. It's supposed to bring good luck. But it is very adorable if you like little things. Little pig with 3 legs. So that was Pomaire. I also bought, I bought some ecru thread, which I thought would also be fun to dye because it will give me, I can put it in the same dye pot as the white and it will come out slightly different colour because the base is a little bit darker. So I thought that would be a fun thing to do. And then I bought yarn. So I bought some cotton yarn. It was very wasn't very inexpensive. I thought it was very reasonably priced. I think maybe this was 10 New Zealand dollars. It's a kilo. It's either a kilo or 1,000 meters. No, half a kilo, 1,000 meters. So I thought it was pretty good for a summer top. If I get round to it this year, I don't know, but it's a great colour. I also managed to make it back to a shop that we'd seen in passing. I was very brave because on one of the days, I think our first day in Chile, they slashed my bag and stole something from it. And so when I figured it out, when I found out they'd done that, it kind of left me. So that was the one day that we used the Metro, which is like their underground system. After that, it was just taxis. So Santiago was expensive. I mean, Santiago is expensive. Chile is expensive anyway, certainly compared to Peru. But on top of that, I just didn't want to do the Metro. It just left me with a terrible, like, ugh feeling. Like, I've gone to Peru, gosh, 15 times since I left when I was 18. I went on the Metro with a friend. They don't call it the Metro. I think they call it the electric train. I went to one of the I went to an area where you're supposed to really watch your bags, like, you know, hands in your pockets, you know, just be really aware, because if they're going to steal from you anywhere in Lima, it's going to be there. Nothing happened. But then, yeah, someone stole from me in the metro, so... But it was a slashing, it was a bag, and I was going to keep it to mend, and then I thought, you know what, it's always going to remind me that that they did that, and it kind of leaves you with a ugh feeling. As happens, all they took was my glasses case with a broken pair of glasses in it. Thankfully they didn't take my wallet, because it would have been such a pain to have to cancel everything. To try and remember what cards you have to cancel them as well. But anyway, just let me feel it. Ugh. So anyway, on one morning, Martin had gone to the zoo with Christina, and I'm not interested in going to zoos, so Sophia was studying because she had an exam, so we agreed that we would meet at midday. So I had from 10 to midday to get into town, go to a couple of museums, go to a bookshop, and try and find this yarn place. And I was doing it by taxi, so it wasn't too bad, but I was really proud of myself. I have a terrible sense of direction. Martin didn't really want to leave me to walk to the hotel from a park that we kept going to, because it was like, I'm just not sure you're going to get there. He was quite right. Anyway, I found a yarn shop. It was very lovely. They had a lot of alpaca, but I did find this naturally dyed yarn, she said to me. So I was like, oh, what do you have that isn't alpaca? And I was really thrilled, because I would say the majority of what they had in that shop was natural. Very little, well, probably 25% synthetic, I would say. So anyway, she said, oh, we have this, which is artisan dyed, but it has no label. I was like, brilliant, love it. So anyway, sheep's wool, isn't it gorgeous? Very much my colours. Very happy with that. So, but there wasn't a lot just of sheep's wool to choose from. I also bought these two balls of, they're probably maybe sport. They're not quite DK. I really don't know what I'll make. I just wanted to have keepsakes from Chile. I don't feel like in New Zealand, ironically, certainly in Dunedin, I don't feel like I can go to a yarn shop and have a range of things to choose from. The range is small of the things I'm interested in. So my rule is, if you go to a place that has yarn, you get to see it and touch it and choose, buy it. So that's what I did. And then I bought this to dye. So this was the stuff that they sold. So it was probably not quite half the price of the dyed stuff, but very reasonable. So this is DK, 5 skeins of 50 grams, of, I think it's 100 grams each, so 500 grams, half of what I have from Peru. But I'm super thrilled. Great. And I also got 2 skeins of lace weight, because I have this idea that I will naturally dye it in some great colours. And then I want to make baby shawls for my girls, because I don't know if I've mentioned it, but I have this fear that I'll get Alzheimer's, because there is Alzheimer's in my family. My mum died of Alzheimer's, and my grandma died of Alzheimer's, and I would not want to leave them without something like this. So anyway, it's on my list. They're too young to have children. They're not even well, they are thinking about it. They're both quite broody, but my children. It would just be nice to make them something which they will value later. So I'll think of a colour to dye them with. I also managed to find some wooden buttons, which I'm thrilled about. These were not cheap either, but they're kind of really hard to find here in New Zealand now. Wooden or mother of pearl, which is what I choose to use with my garments. Very hard to find. I will sometimes buy second-hand plastic buttons, because it's second-hand, or take them out of a garment. I want to keep the pièce de résistance for the end. So I also bought these books. I bought this in one of the museums. It's called Herederas de Isluga. So Herederas means heirs. So this is a book about Aymara women weavers. So the Aymara is another indigenous group in Latin America. Quechua is the biggest indigenous group in Peru, I believe, but we do have an Aymara, representation, but it is smaller, and it's kind of in the Puno area, which is borders with Bolivia, where I believe it's mostly Aymara. But apparently Chileans have Aymara in the north as well. So anyway, I just loved the idea of anything where you're showcasing women, and gosh, crafts women, and they're indigenous. I just all good things. Beautiful. So to read about their story and a little bit about their making process, just wonderful. Really good production values for these books. Some balls of yarn. Actually, it was really funny because when I was coming to choose whether I buy it or not, am I even going to find it now? But I opened it randomly, and it was like, it's spinning equipment. I was like, oh yeah, I'll take it. Oh, I can't find it now, but look, this lady's spinning. It's just wonderful. Yay for the richness of Peru and Chile's indigenous people. Then I went to a little corner shop because I was trying to make these pouches for my girls for Christmas. I'm trying to move away from this Eurocentric idea of what Christmas should be about. I mean, I'm useless at Christmas, to be honest. I'm just about the worst. But I do manage to get them a couple of little presents, and we just give them money now. That's what they want. They're pursuing their dreams at the moment, so money is helpful. But I gave them a couple of little gifts, and I embroidered these two pouches. Of course, I started here, and then, gosh, it took me about 3 weeks. I didn't have scissors, and I did French seams, which when you do the first seam, then you have to cut quite close to it, and then do the second seam. I didn't have scissors. I thought I did, but I didn't. So anyway, I bought these scissors. Then they cost me $3 from this $2 shop. It's probably the best pair of scissors I have. And it's quite beautiful. I should show. Victoria's coming on Tuesday. We're going to have a day together. We're going to try and record a Flosstube, and I'll show you all my purchasing. Anyway, I just think it's hilarious. I stumbled upon this little, it wasn't called a dollar shop, but it was, or a $2 shop, but it was that vein of shop. Just about the best scissors, which is why I brought them. I was like, I'm not getting rid of these scissors. I will put my bag in the hold. So sharp, amazing, yay. And of course, coming from all the trouble that was happening in Peru, we went to a small city. Oh gosh, it's probably as big as Dunedin. We went to a city outside of Santiago called Valparaiso, which is very famous. It's a bohemian sort of city. It's got all the facades are painted, different colors. You see postcards of this city. Anyway, there was just as soon as we arrived, we went with a guide. He parked the car, and we got out, went round the corner, and there was this street seller artist selling his hand printed, like screen printed things. And there was this, and I will translate it. So it says, no más criminalización a la protesta social. So it means stop criminalizing social protests. And of course then I found out all about the what they call the estallido social that happened in Chile in 2019, which is social eruption or social blast or social something like that. Estallido is like boom. Lots of protesting. Santiago kind of suffered the brunt of it. There was a lot of damaged buildings and graffiti and that sort of thing. But, you know, people are tired. Anyway, I thought it was very fitting. I bought it very quickly. And this actually was inexpensive, and it was really nice to buy it directly from the producer. So I will put this, I thought I would put it on a skirt, as a panel on a skirt. I mean, it means nothing in New Zealand. The police do not shoot at protesters in New Zealand, so it's not actually needed here. But yeah. Now, these two things, these were the things that turned the corner for me in Chile, where it was, my soul was suffering because I was not in Peru, and then I was in these quite exclusive parts of Santiago. Like within 5 blocks there was a Deloitte building and a KPMG building. Like it was not my happy place. So the light's gone. Let me just see if I can turn on the light. Is that better? Or is it really worse? Probably really worse. Yeah, I'll turn that one off. Oh, that's a little bit better, I think. So the Mapuche are, I think, the biggest indigenous group in Chile. They are marginalized, they're not treated well, but as so many indigenous groups throughout the world, they've kind of had enough as well, and so they're getting organized and they're fighting back, and they're demanding land back, for example, which all the land has been sold to logging companies. So there's trouble there. Yeah. Anyway, in that same town, Valparaiso, I came across this jeweler, Mapuche jeweler, and I bought 2 of his items. Again, really lovely to buy directly from a maker. You can't really see the detail. So they wear this on their chest, which is how I will wear it. I just thought it was so beautiful. The decorations are, there's a face, and geometric, you can just about catch it there, yeah, geometric designs on the chest of the person, and then more geometric designs here, 2 more faces, more geometric designs, and then these crosses that are not the Catholic cross, but they're rather signifying the center of the world, apparently. And they've got the markings all around it as well, around the edge. And there's also these crosses at the end. Now, this isn't silver. There's just no way I could afford this in silver. But he produced it from an alloy that is called alpaca, and I'm not sure what the alloy is. I found out in the past, because a lot of silver-looking stuff is made in alpaca in Peru as well. But they will tell you. They will tell you when it's silver. They will tell you when it's alpaca. So yeah, I thought this was beautiful. I love a statement piece. I will be wearing this to work. Because let's face it, I don't really go out. So that made my day. I was thrilled about this, and we had a little chat with the jeweler. I actually, had I been alone, I would have bought more, but I was being judged by the family. I mean, I have my own wage, but I was feeling very judged. The other thing I bought is this shawl pin, which is called a tupu. So, let me show you. If I was an indigenous person in Peru, I would wear this. I could wear this like this. I'm not sure I want to pierce this because it's quite thick, but you would like this with your tupu. I think Incas and the cultures before the Incas wore this, and so the Mapuche do as well. What is very lovely about it is that they have a long tradition of using antique spoons for their jewellery. I just thought it was delightful. It's got some very simple markings. It's very beautiful. I'm very happy with it. So I won't use it for this because I would hate to ruin the weave. I would use a much thinner one, and they did have thinner ones, but I preferred this one. But I can use this for my knitted shawls, which is what I wanted. So I am quite thrilled. I feel very fortunate that I was able to find a maker. And actually I couldn't find books. It's just shame, really. Eventually I did find a couple of books. I found one that I purchased, but they had a couple of books on Mapuche silver jewellery. And one is this. So this was at the Mapa Museum, which is a museum of, will it say here? basically the museum of folk art. No, it's not folk art. It's like everyday art, something like that. Yeah, so that was the tupo. I'm trying to find a name, because of course they've got their own language. I'm trying to find the name of the thing. I couldn't justify buying more, but I really, okay. So can you see the word there? It says Trapelacucha. So this would be Trapelacucha. But anyway, really great. It's not a generic book about the silver of Mapuche, but it is of their collection. So I'll learn a lot from this. It did make me sad that I really just couldn't find books on that. I did find one on Amazon. I don't really shop through Amazon. I would have for this book, but now I don't have to because I've got this here. And this one is from another exhibition that was called Arte Mapuche. I wondered if people don't really buy books in museums. Because every time I bought a book, I got given another one for free. I mean, the person that served me was just so lovely. She was super lovely. And she was like, oh, you're interested in this? Look, I'll give you this. That was from a previous exhibition. I was like, thanks. Great. I think it's got the name here, if I can read it with my glasses on. Gosh, it's going to take forever to upload. Museo de Arte Popular Americano. So Arte Popular can be sort of folk art, or Arte Popular, what they're trying to cover is everyday objects. That just because they're everyday objects, it doesn't mean they're not beautiful. So they would have jewelry, but they would also have ceramics, they would have toys. I think that's all they had. Yeah, very good. It was a very good little museum, actually. That's where they had the beautiful textile that I did a video of, and I put it on Instagram. So anyway, those were all my purchases from my trip. I need to find space for them in my little house. I do worry a little bit about the future of my collection. I mean, my daughters will have their own homes with their own things. I will have to think about where they go. But it's a beautiful small collection, and it brings me so much happiness to have these things around me. To kind of respect the makers, contribute to their lifestyle as well, make sure they earn a decent wage through selling to people that appreciate their work. That's important to me. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you've been to Peru and which are the bits that you loved most. I am hoping to go back, and my poor husband, he's like, are we ever going to go on holiday without the girls? And I did say to him, this will probably be the last time we pay for them to go to Peru. But now it's not true, because we're going to have to go back, because they still want to do the Inca Trail. So in 2 years' time, hopefully we can take them back. Maybe they just go for a week. I mean, gosh, they're 20 and 22. They're really not interested in being with us. But maybe they can come for a week and then we go for a month. Something like that. We'll work it out. Anyway, let me know if you've been to Peru. Let me know if you have any of these items, or if you have something that, if I got something wrong, let me know. If you have extra information on things, I'd love to hear it. It's New Year's Eve. I'm going to sleep soon. I hope your 2022 has been okay, as good as it could be, considering the world. And I hope 2023 will be a calm year for everybody, and you'll be able to spend time with the people that make you feel good and that you love, and that you'll have time to make. All right. See you soon. Bye.